On how I became a specialist in enhancing sleep efficiency and reducing fatigue levels in order to maximize performance, health, and safety in high-performance organizations. Now, this journey all started actually exactly 12 years ago, when at the same day I first started my first engineering traineeship, and at the same day I moved into my first student dorm. Now, you can imagine, with all the drinking, it wasn't the perfect environment in terms of rest and sleep quality. And as a cherry on the cake, 2 weeks later, they sent me to work at an offshore platform in the Caspian Sea to work permanent night shifts for 5 weeks in a row for 84 hours per night. Now, for me, that was the perfect cocktail for suboptimal sleep quality and sleep deprivation. So at the middle of the night, I had to wake up feeling quite tired, you can imagine, to work a whole 12-hour shift that ended at midday at noon. And what I felt is that during work, I wasn't rested. I was quite tired, my alertness was lower, and also it had a huge impact on both my motivation, but also on my overall well-being. I wasn't quite happy at that time. But I'm certain about my feelings when I was quite tired at that time, but I'm very curious about how you react if you sleep poorly for a couple of days in a row. So could you please all stand up and discuss? Could any of you share your experience? What happens if you arrive at work, for instance? So what happens? What is your experience if you sleep poorly? So it works. Focus at work? Yeah, that's a good point. What else? Bad mood affects your mood as well. A headache, yeah. Physical pain. Oh, hungry. We'll come back to that later on. Now, you can see that efficiency of sleep has an impact on your brain. And what I experienced at that time, at that traineeship, it affected my performance, health, and well-being at such a level that I decided to make it my personal, professional career to solve this problem. So after this study, I started the new study, psychology, because if you want to solve this problem, you have to know how the human brain works. And soon after, I started 2 sleep-related companies, in Human Factors Engineering, which provide comprehensive fatigue-reducing, sleep-enhancing programs, interventions, and workshops in order to maximize performance, health, and safety in high-performance organizations. And Somnoblue, it provides tools to help consumers, but companies as well, to sleep more efficient. And later on, you can see it at the stand. You can test it yourself as well. So the main goal is to maximize brain performance, health, and safety by the use of sleep enhancement. So going from poor sleep to moderate to good, and in some cases good to perfect. So in the recent years, I did some projects. One major project was with the Dutch military, with the air forces and land forces, in order to maximize sleep efficiency, to enhance alertness, reduce human error risks, and overall create a more safer work environment. Other projects with 2 world champion race drivers, in order to ensure that those guys are fully rested during the peak moments, because sleep quality is related to your focus, your reaction times, etc. Other industry, it's dealing with a lot of night work as well. This industry where I started my career. At multiple organizations, we've helped to ensure that the fatigue levels were reduced. The number of poor sleepers, for instance, in the last 5 organizations was reduced by over 75%. And this all helps to maximize operational efficiency, reduce error risk, and ensure a more safe and healthy environment. Other projects, multiple teams from the Dutch Eredivisie, it's a kind of Champions League, but better, in order to reduce the number of injuries. So sleep affects your growth hormones, your ability to recover physically and mentally. But what did I miss? So what would be a good benefit for maximize sleep quality for your organization, for instance? Happiness, yeah. Productivity.
Focus on the right things.
Yeah, to keep your focus, get rid of distractions, of course, yeah. So it doesn't matter which organization you are into, which sector, it has a huge impact on your overall potential. Today, we'll have to narrow it down. I will explain a bit why all these consequences of poor sleep happen. One strategy on how to enhance the efficiency of sleep that you can apply with yourself or with your company this week. And to conclude with some elements of a successful intervention and some business benefits. But first, the human brain, we all have got one. If you look at the human brain, it's a small organ. It only weighs approximately 2% of your total body weight, and it consumes more than 25% of all glucose and oxygen. It's a highly active organ, and everything you do, it all derives at your brain. And if I would take one small part of your brain, the size of one grain of sand, it would contain more than 100,000 neurons, brain cells, and 1 billion connections through synapses. And everything you do, every business plan you make, every privacy policy you decline, everything you do, it all happens here. And the good thing is, if you enhance efficiency of sleep, to maximize it, it will have three main effects. The first, you will enhance the communication between those neurons, enabling you to be more focused and energized. Secondly, it will help you to make more connections more easily. It's related to learning. And finally, it will help you to consolidate memories. So no matter what sector you're in, this is all important. This is why sleep is the core factor in terms of human potential. So if we look at the human brain again, the human brain can stand lack of sleep quite well. However, there's one part of the brain that really is degraded if you cut back 3 hours of sleep, for instance. And this part of the brain is called the prefrontal cortex. It's a frontal part of the brain in which all the so-called executive functions take place. And there are some examples of the prefrontal cortex. It's involved with concentration, your ability to solve problems, your working memory, your regulation of emotions. So some people get into a fight more easily if they're not well rested. And also, overall, it determines your leadership capabilities as well. So that's the good thing about if you enhance sleep quality, you have a more efficient prefrontal cortex. So, why does this happen? If you look at the human brain, what I mentioned is that it uses a lot of energy, glucose and oxygen. And with all this consumption of energy, byproducts, chemicals and waste will build up in your brain. So if I look at your brains now, they're becoming filthy and dirty, and all the toxins will build up. There's one problem with the brain, is that it cannot clear the brain during wake time. We don't have a lymphatic system in the brain. So, actually, what evolution has done, it made a way to get rid of that waste, and that is sleep. Only during sleep, and especially during deep sleep, your brain can get rid of all those filthy waste and toxins. And it does so by enabling the brain cells to shrink a little bit. And because of that, through those new openings, cerebral spinal fluid will be pumped into the brain. And you can see that in this video. I hope. Yeah. The left side, you can see the fluid that is pumped in the outsides of the veins. And the right side, you can see it's pumped in the deeper areas of the brain. This is why, after a good night's sleep, you wake up more refreshed, and those neurons are more able in communicating effectively. It's also a reason that some people wake up with headaches. And so if you sleep better, more deep sleep, REM sleep, you've got a cleaner brain, a more effective brain. And that's all. I think that's everybody wants that at the end. So what happens if you do not sleep well? What happens if you totally deprive the human brain of sleep? The brain will become filthy and dirty. And this is an actual picture of the human brain. It can be quite shocking. The cool thing is you will never forget this image the rest of your life. It's ingrained in your memory now. So what can we do? How can we enhance the quality of sleep? Because this is why we're here. Majority of you is an HR manager, and you want to make sure that your employees are more fit, healthy, and happier at work. I will show you one strategy today. Of course, there are multiple extras, but one strategy, it all started at NASA. They were the first company that really applied a form of sleep efficiency enhancing strategy that focused on the exposure to light. By focusing on exposure to light, you can maximize efficiency of sleep. I'll explain how this works. Now, we human beings are day animals. We are designed to be active during the day and sleep at night. Cats, for example, they are night animals that sleep during the day and work at night, active at night. And everything is all controlled by the biological clock inside of the brain. And that tells the brain when to be active, when to sleep, and every other physiological processes are controlled through the biological clock. At nighttime, you can see it at this part, your melatonin levels are the highest. It's called a night hormone. It tells your organs that it's nighttime, you should go to sleep. But your body temperature is also lower at night. And this is related with alertness and road accidents as well. There's one problem with our normal circadian rhythm, so this 24-hour pattern, is that it's a bit longer than 24 hours. Actually, the biological clock is not that accurate. Every day and every night it wants to shift to a later point in time a little bit. Wake up a bit later, go to bed a bit later. Wake up a little bit later, go to bed later. And this biological clock is calibrated by blue morning light. So remember this blue part of the light. It keeps your biological clock in pace, calibrates it. So we need blue light, it's important. Now, we notice for hundreds and thousands of years that light has an effect on your sleep. But we only know it for a brief time now that there's a specific color of the light that really affects your sleep. And that's the blue part of the light. There's a discovery of a new eye cell inside of your retina, in your eyes, and it's not connected to the visual part of your brain. You cannot see with this new receptor, and it's got only one task, to tell your brain whether it's day or night. Yet, I call it, to make it easier, the blue light detector. Okay? So this is the perfect situation. You wake up, a bright blue sky, and in the evening and night, it's dark. Yeah, that's the best for your biological clock. But what happens if you brush your teeth, for instance, in the evening? Is it dark? Do you do that in pitch dark? Yeah. You do it. Good example. Yeah. Of course, you don't do that in pitch dark. There's always artificial light on, even here. And this tells your brain that it's actually still daytime. Don't go to bed yet. Okay? So what we need is a proper evening cue that tells your brain, that primes your brain to go to sleep and have a quality rest. So this is what you all experience. Light from screens, but also light from normal artificial light. White light consists of blue light as well. So that melatonin I mentioned, what is secreted at night, there's one characteristic of it, it's allergic to blue light. I call this a Dracula hormone. It really hates to be exposed to light. And this is what happens. If you see a 24-hour cycle, and normal melatonin production at the evening and night, and this is where your alarm clock goes off. So when you use artificial light right before you go to bed, it suppresses your melatonin levels because for your brain it's still daytime. Secondly, it helps to delay your sleep-wake schedule a little bit. So You want to go to bed a bit later and want to wake up a bit later. But no, this is where the time your alarm clock goes off. Very hard to wake up. Who of you uses an alarm clock before? No, okay, 84%, yeah. So melatonin is allergic for blue light. You have to remember that. And secondly, there's genetic evidence that some people are more prone to the effects of blue light than others. Some people really cannot have a high quality of sleep after being exposed to artificial light. So this is a study that showed the melatonin that's produced in your brain if you're exposed to total darkness from 12 to 8 in the morning. You can see the melatonin rises in the darkness. And this is the same participants, but now in a room without any darkness. So you can see the huge effect light can have on your brain. So how do we invite the Dracula hormone into our house? So what do we do? Dim the light could be one thing. Actually, our brains are very sensitive to blue light, so you really have to put the light very attenuated very low if you want to have that effect. And it's not always effective. So one solution is to filter out the blue part of the light, and as a result, your brain will think it's night again. And you can do this with these glasses. If you wear them before you go to bed, your brain will think it's dark. Your brain will think it's inside of a total darkened room. As a result, it will helps to give your brain the signal that it's evening again. It's almost time to sleep. Yeah. In addition, it helps to prime your brain for sleep, for bedtime. It sends your brain a natural signal to sleep again. Here are some pictures of it. And if you're interested, you can visit the stand. You can try them out yourself. So this is what your brain will think if you brush your teeth without the glasses on. This is what your brain will think if you brush your teeth with the glasses on, for instance. Also for the companies that do night work, shift work, it's a bit more complicated, but these tools you can use as well in order to make sure that your efficiency of sleep is enhanced and well-being will be increased. So if you want to change behavior, you have to have an efficient intervention or workshop. And just by providing tools, it will not be sufficient. So what other elements should a successful intervention contain? Firstly, you have to create the right amount of awareness about your own situation. You have to teach the participants knowledge about sleep, fatigue, circadian rhythms, and all the other aspects that are related to sleep, because I just mentioned light, but of course other factors such as rumination, stress, well, those other factors that have a huge impact on your sleep quality should be taken into account as well. You have to teach the participants the skills they can use, practical skills and strategies that they can apply at their own homes. And finally, and that's most important, if you are all, majority of you is either a business owner or HR professional, you have to create the right motivational mindset, or else you won't have the correct results. So the Work Hard, Sleep Hard workshops, they are interactive. If you use interactivity, you can also focus on person-specific problems, and it will have a greater effect, of course, than sending a presentation. Secondly, you have to involve a holistic approach, focusing on every element that are related to sleep and fatigue to maximize energy levels. Thirdly, you have to inspire, focus on the why. A lot of you know what they should eat. A lot of you know what you should do in terms of physical exercise. But actually doing it, that's next level. That's why you have to focus on the why and inspire as well. And empower them. Theory alone is not always enough. And this is why, in some cases, you can provide tools that they can use as well. So the whole work hard, sleep hard workshop consists of all these different elements, focusing on a holistic approach, and at every workshop, the participants will receive those glasses as well in order to maximize efficiency. Some business facts. Who of you is currently focusing on a healthy diet at your company or in your personal life? Yeah, slowly some. Who of you is focusing on reducing stress levels? Okay, and who of you is trying to make more money? Oh, well, it's okay, half of them. If you look at sleep optimization, it will reduce the craving for fast food. You just mentioned it. If you do not sleep well, it has a huge effect on your ghrelin and leptin. These are hunger hormones that make you crave high-calorie food. If you enhance the quality of sleep, your craving for fast food, high-calorie food will go down. You will crave for a more healthy appetite. Secondly, if you enhance the quality of sleep, you will lower general stress levels. You mentioned it as well, that some people you get a bit stressed or anxious if you do not sleep well. Remember the prefrontal cortex, what I just mentioned? It's also very important if you want to inhibit other parts of the brain. And one of those brain parts that are involved with fear, the amygdala, is overactive if you are sleep deprived. If you sleep better, your amygdala is better inhibited by your prefrontal cortex, and it will reduce the overall cortisol levels, stress levels, and it makes you into a more healthy and happy mood. And finally, of course, poor sleep and fatigue results in different consequences. You get ill more easily, you make more mistakes, and someone else has to recover those mistakes. And also, there's more absence at work. Different factors happen. And different studies have calculated the effects of poor sleep and fatigue, and it's between 1,800 and 4,600 euros per employee per year. Now, the good thing is, if you want to start an intervention, you also have to know what the benefits will be. And this is one important way to prove that it's not just money you throw away. You will gain money in the long and short term. Okay. So this is a general overview. If you enhance the efficiency of sleep, even though you're not a poor sleeper by yourself, if you make it into a more efficient sleep, so if you make sure that the time that you spend in bed are more efficient, then you will wake up more refreshed, less fatigued. It will result in a more energy during the day, and your brain functioning will go up. This will lead to a lower human error risks, improved productivity, health, safety, and your immune system functioning will go up as well. And finally, it will help to reduce the cost, improve safety, health, and well-being. So, to conclude, sleep optimization will keep your brain fit and healthy, and it's the core of human potential. And, of course, it's good business. Thank you. Some questions, please? Yep.
Thank you, first of all. I have a question around meditation.
Yeah.
During the day, if you meditate, could that kind of balance out that kind of sleep?
Meditation is included in the workshops as well. I've had multiple offshore workers, big guys, actually trying it after finding out a video of soldiers that doing the meditation as well. But meditation results in the fact that your stress levels go down, and it will enhance the quality of sleep. But afterwards as well, if you have poor sleep, your stress levels are higher than you normally should be, and meditation is one way to reduce those acute stress levels.
And does it clean up your brain? The neurological side of it?
Not really, but it will help to enhance the quality of sleep, so more deep sleep. So the day after, your brain will be cleaner. But during the day, you're still, you still have a problem.
Yeah, so to build on that, so if you close your eyes during meditation, then specific things won't kill it.
The blue light detector you mentioned, they tell your brain whether it's day or night, and only during nighttime you normally produce melatonin. But blue light prevents the normal production of melatonin. Normally during the day there is no melatonin, so if you close your eyes it won't have that much of an effect. So those glasses are effective in the evening at night. Yeah. Yeah?
What about candlelight?
Candlelight, yeah, it's a good question. If you look at light, there are different colors of it. And artificial light consists of more of the blue spectrum, so the short wavelength light. And candlelight is more centered around 600, 700 nanometers. But normal artificial light is more centered over the whole visible spectrum. Yeah, so candlelight's better. Yeah.
So how would you look at the use of, for instance, a wake-up light, which also creates that situation of waking up in the dark and the normal?
Yeah, a wake-up light, as you mentioned in the presentation, we need a normal morning cue to tell the brain the day has started, wake up, and give your body a boost. And a wake-up light is, yeah, it does approximately the same. So the wake-up light, right before your normal alarm clock will go off, the light intensity will go up, and then at the time of your normal alarm, your room is already a bit more in a light intensity. Yeah, it's a good method in stabilizing your circadian rhythm as well. Yeah.
Can you still use the glasses when watching television? Because I saw some on the screen reading on a laptop.
Yeah.
So is it blocking like the lights from all the TV or
Yeah.
mobile phones?
It's a good question. The perfect advice is don't use any electronics before you go to bed, of course. That would be the ideal situation because it keeps your brain active. But what the glasses do, they filter out the short wavelength, so the blue part of the light. And as a result, you will see everything in an orange glow. And that orange glow, after a couple of days, your brain will think, it's evening, I'm almost going to sleep as well. So you can still watch your television, but of course, I advise against it, especially the use of your phone. And this is all included in the workshop as well. If you use your phone the last moment before you go to sleep, even if it is in silent mode, if it's next to your bed, studies have shown that it still activates your brain. The best way is to keep your phone in a separate room. And also, if you just wake up, and the first thing is you look at your phone, check your WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. Yeah, it's a bit complicated, but it will result in a boost of dopamine, and as a result, your brain is way too active at the start of the day. It will start seeking for thrills and new rewards. So it's better to use your phone, try to use it maybe an hour afterwards, so no phone use right before you go to bed, and also when you just wake up is best.
About the night strategy, you mentioned deep sleep.
Yeah.
And I've heard of an app that it's on a phone.
Ooh,
No, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bit tricky, but that app you put it down next to you, and it measures if you're in deep sleep or not, and it then wakes you up when you're not in deep sleep, because that is supposed to be better.
Yeah. The thing is, if you really look at it scientifically, there's been a lot of meta-analysis, so they measured all the different studies, combine it, and actually they can't differentiate between the different stages of sleep. It's almost impossible. So this app, they have a very low correlation with actually predicting that.
But
So no, if they could predict your stage of sleep, could be good, but there's no way in doing that. You need an EEG if you really want to know. So I'm currently doing a study with the University of Leiden as well, and yeah, the best way to really predict to know the sleep stage is just EEG. Yeah, so the phones, not yet. Yep.
How long does your brain need to adapt to the nighttime? Because now it's summertime, you have these beautiful long evenings, but stays light really long.
Yeah. So how long you need darkness, you mean, or how long do you?
Before you get melting
Yeah. It depends on the time, of course, but if you use the glasses, let's say at 10 o'clock in the evening, if you wear them, your brain will signal it's total darkness and it will start to produce it. So it's almost immediately. So it depends on the timing, of course. Yeah.
And how long do you need to wear it?
Depends on the person. If you got severe problems, of course, try to do it 1.5 hours, for instance. I myself, I use it for half an hour. It depends on your own preference. So I will always advise you to try it at least 1 hour before you go to sleep for a couple of days, sometimes 2 weeks, and afterwards you can see what fits you the best. Yep.
I work at a company and people travel a lot. They travel across the world, so different time zones. They also work on flights and accounts at different time zones, so it's very irregular.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice I could kind of
Yeah.
give to them?
What you just mentioned about the light, that you can shift your rhythm, delaying it or advancing it. So going back to bed, waking up later, go to bed later, or earlier, waking up earlier. You can do that with light. So if you put some extra light right before you go to bed, using energy lights, you can shift your circadian rhythm to a later point in time. And you can use the same if you use the light in the morning. You wake up a bit more easy. But this is so specific for the specific group. So at Work Hard Sleep, I also provide jet lag advice included. Also for the Dutch team, national team, the youth squad, advice plans in order to shift your circadian rhythm before a match. But I cannot give the solution because it completely depends on the number of time zones you switch, for instance, and how long you're going to stay there. If you're going to stay there for 2 days, or you're going to stay there for 4 weeks. It depends. In some cases, you don't even want to shift your whole. It's a bit complicated, but you can, with some practical guidelines, can help your employees and coping with jet lags. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think that was all. Thank you.